This is not a test. This is not a test.
I don't know if you can handle it. I don't know if you can handle it.
This is not a
I don't know if
test.
you can handle it. I don't know if you can handle it. I don't know if you can handle it.
This is not a test. This is not a test. This is not a test. I don't know if you can handle it. 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 This is not a This is not a test. I don't know if you can handle.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. So getting off the getting off the Pentax topic just a little bit, we're going to talk about how echoey this room is right now. It's like I'm standing right in an echo spot. Hope it doesn't sound too echoey for you guys. Anyways, we're going to talk a little bit about Fuji. Now, as you guys know, I have a 2 Fuji camera setup. The most, I guess, modern, or one of the newest released cameras for Fuji, the X-E5, which is filming me now on a crazy setup. Maybe I'll make a video about my setup for the X-E5 for filming videos. Then also the Fuji X-E5. And I just really like this rangefinder style type of cameras. They are great for just being portable, but also capable. And personally, I like the X-E5 in other ways than the X-E6 because it has the flip-up screen, so for some versatility here. And then also, you can do interchangeable lenses. So the other day, my son got the opportunity to play at Michigan State University, Munn Ice Arena, which is home of, like, I think 141 different NHL players are drafted out of there, including a lot of famous Red Wing players, which in Detroit here we're big fans of. And I wanted to shoot sports. Now, typically, the X-E5 is a camera that I won't put bigger lenses on because it just feels really imbalanced. So oftentimes you'll see lenses like these crons, like this is the 50mm f2. This works really well. It fits nicely. It's nicely balanced. Get my hat out of the way. It's nicely balanced on the camera itself. And a lot of times the videos you guys are seeing are filmed on this 16mm f2.8, which I don't think is necessarily the best lens overall, but again, it matches the aesthetic with it being silver. It's small. Take this lens hood off and this lens cap off, right? It has a nice aesthetic to it. And sometimes, if I'm going for a massive bokeh, because back in my shield tube days, I happen to have this nicely matching silver Brighton Star 35mm f0.95 manual focus lens. And I would say this is about the point where it starts to get a little heavy. Right now, as I hold this, it gets a little bit heavy. It's a little bit tippy in my hands, okay? So the reason why I'm telling you this is because when I went and shot sports, I borrowed a lens from a friend of mine who lives in the area, who I actually happened to meet through YouTube. And we've met up for a couple photo walks here and there in local Detroit. And he let me borrow his Fuji 50-140. Oh boy, where's the mark for this thing? Here it is. The 50-140 f2.8. Okay, and here's what I'm going to tell you about using the X-E5 for sports. This setup, as it stands by itself, is not great in terms of ergonomics. First of all, with the X-E5 in the back here, you've got this, which has very little purchase in terms of ability to hold on to it. And on the front of the camera right here, there's a little lip, but it's not very significant. Better than the X-E4 was for sure, but not something I would call a sports camera. And so if you're going to use this for sports, I'll tell you the first thing you got to change is you got to put a grip on this and maybe even a thumb rest. I think with a thumb rest on the back to kind of help brace this and a little grip, I think you're in pretty decent shape. The second thing is that the battery life itself in this camera, not fantastic. It's these little NP, whatever these are called. These are the NP1W26S batteries. These things are not awesome for battery life. But all that to say, I'm going to tell you that the X-E5 is actually okay for sports, because if you get into its high burst rate modes, or even I should say continuous low burst rate modes, you can get 5 frames per second, which is all I really use. If you want to get into higher, you can. I guess as 8 and 13 frames per second, and then it goes into crop modes at 10, 13, and 20. Again, you have to be a little more careful there. I don't want that many shots, and they do use electronic shutter. So I stick to the low speed burst mode, and I use the 5 frames per second. For me, that's actually okay. I know it's not great for sports, but I got a lot of good shots out of it. And I was able to, use the viewfinder, which is not awesome, but it was still good enough. And I was able to kind of just use this camera along the glass through that little porthole that they have, and stick this lens kind of right up into that porthole and get a lot of good pictures with it. I shot with a higher shutter speed. I was shooting 9 and 10-year-old hockey, which at a pretty elite level, which they're moving pretty quick. And so I shot that like at 1/400th of a shutter speed. I put obviously the lens at f2.8, and then I let the ISO go where it needed to be. So it was like about 2/3 of an overexposure. If you see this right here. And the reason why I did that is because the ice in hockey is white, and cameras always want a meter to middle gray, right? And so it'll turn the white ice into gray if you don't tell the camera like, hey, I want to overexpose by like 2/3 of a stop, sometimes even a full stop. But I'll tell you the key to making it successful is in the autofocus modes itself. And so what I'll tell you, if I go into this right here, maybe I can show you guys what I'm looking at. You want to, well, this is not a manual focus right now, but if you go into continuous autofocus, which I just flipped on the side here, the switch, you definitely want to be in zone. And if you set your zone area, you use this. Now you can obviously make it bigger or smaller, different shapes, but something like this and just getting the subject in this area was probably the best hit rate that I had in terms of tracking. Now a lot of people come from like Sony or Canon, or maybe even Nikon now, will just put it on the wide autofocus settings. So if you look into the autofocus modes right here, you'll see that you got this all, right? And if you look, you can scroll through, there's single point, whatever. A lot of them, people will put it in wide mode, this tracking wide mode. And even though you can do stuff like that where it like tracks on things, I think for sports, it's not the best mode. I think you really want to be in the zone setting right there. I think that's probably your best bet. And that's what I found for shooting sports with the Fuji. Now obviously this camera, not being an XH2 or XH2S with the dual card slots, in particular the CF Express Type B card slots that clear buffers more quickly, and not having like the bigger battery and all that kind of stuff, does not make it the ideal situation for sports. But the reason why I'm making this video is to tell you that if you're an occasional sports shooter that has like maybe kids that play soccer or baseball or hockey like I do, or you want to do an occasional job where you might need that, the X-E5 actually does a good enough job. Was the hit rate as good as a Canon or a Sony or a Nikon? No, it wasn't, but it was pretty high. I went through my photos, and a lot of times if I missed any shots, it's because there was like 3 or 4 subjects in the little square, and the camera just didn't know which one to grab onto. But even then, the camera did a really good job of figuring out who to focus on. I should add one more thing. I take off the face and eye tracking, subject tracking, because I think that also can screw it up a little bit. Because the way focus works for Fuji on zone plus subject detection is that if the subject's in the square, it'll prioritize the subject in the square. But if something's outside of the square, it'll then default as a second option to that. And so if it's in the zone, the middle zone area, and it knows the person's there, it works just fine. But as soon as the autofocus gets confused and it says like, well, I don't know if a person's there or a subject's there, but I know one's over here on the side, it'll grab that. And so I just turn off subject, face, eye detection. I just use AFC in a zone, and it works pretty well. So I'm here to tell you that if you want to shoot sports with your Fuji X-E5 or other similar camera, it can definitely be done. You just got to know how to use it, what focus modes to use, and kind of how to set it up. And so just kind of as a recap, AFC, zone. I leave the autofocus like detection settings on the standard ones. They seem to work okay. And I think you want to be using a first party lens by Fuji, because I think they focus a little bit better. And if you have one of the option to do a pro lens like this 50-140, this is a great option. I think the other lens I might entertain is like the 90 f2. for what I do. Just because it's f2, it's a little bit faster, but of course you lose the ability to zoom wide and zoom tight. Yeah, it's just maybe not as good, but it's still really, really good as this 50 to 140. This is a good option. So all that to say, I would add a grip to your camera to help with the bigger lens size. And don't be afraid to use your X-E5 for sports. It's definitely doable. Bring an extra battery. And the fastest card this thing can accept, because it's clearing those 40 megapixel RAW files sometimes can jam the camera up a little bit. And you have to be okay with 5 frames per second. But again, all that to say, it's definitely doable for your kids' sports. And don't be afraid to use it. All right, thanks everybody. I'll see you in the next one, and maybe we'll make a video about this X100 Mark VI video setup I got going on right now. It's kind of crazy. See you in the next one.